really the main thing is we're drinking beer and we're about to talk about hunting. Camouflage Addiction is proudly partnered with Buck Fever Seed Company, Coyote Cords, Predator Hunter Outdoors, and ScentLock. So, shoot, it's November 6th, right?
Yeah.
November 6th, and it was 70 degrees today.
Stupid.
Tyler and I have been out, every weekend and throughout the week, and we have yet to see any sort of rut activity. We're seeing a lot of does together right now still, and we're seeing a lot of bucks together right now still. No chasing involved. I haven't seen any of that, not even on trail camera. I mean, even the big mature buck that Tyler and I saw last weekend, he was by himself. Actually, there was another smaller buck that had come in before him, probably 10, 15 minutes before he did, which we initially thought was a doe until he got closer, and then we noticed that it was just a really small, maybe had his first, year antlers.
Spike.
And then he came out all by himself.
Which, Ohio's stupid when it comes to weather to begin with.
Yeah.
Always has been.
That's true.
Always will be.
Yeah.
So, weather variations could be from 70 degrees like it was today on our side of the state. I don't know what Mike was seeing. But, northeastern Ohio, what?
Yeah.
This past weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got cold. I was sitting in the stand during that windstorm, which was kind of dumb, but I didn't have much choice.
Well, so was Mike, because, the morning Mike killed his, it was extremely windy.
But that day that I sat in that windstorm that we had, it was flurrying on me.
Yeah.
It was starting to snow.
Yeah, I went from snowing to 70 degrees.
That same day, though, northeastern Ohio had 3 or 4 inches of snow already, lake effect.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It just kind of depends on where you're at, I guess.
I don't know.
They could be seeing different stuff.
Michael is extremely knowledgeable when it comes to whitetail. That's literally what he bases his life off of. So we're going to give Michael a call here in a minute, and we're going to talk to him about his buck and then the experiences that he's had this year. I know he's kind of had a tough season. He's had a couple shooter bucks. He had that one buck that I wish he named his deer, because then we could refer to these deer.
Right.
But I know he had that one buck that he was chasing forever, and then it just ended up.
He was wide.
Yeah, and then it just ended up that he was just kind of disappeared from the property. Same with the buck that he killed; it just disappeared from the property.
But after he killed this one, didn't it show his face again?
Yeah, one of them did. They come back the next day in front of his stand. He got a daylight picture of him. But also, with Michael, we're going to talk to Bo. I think you pronounce his name Bartlebaugh.
Why don't we just call him and we can ask
We're going to find out. But Bo is, I believe he's 8 years old now. And he is a 2-time Grand National Calling Champion for turkeys and a 4-time Pennsylvania State Champion. So I looked up some of his videos on YouTube prior to the podcast, and dude's good. He's stupid good.
Is it with calls or with
local? No, it's with, he uses, the one that I used, that he was using a slate. And he was doing a purring and clucking, and it was just
perfect yelps.
It was amazing. I've been calling it turkeys for 10, 12 years, and this kid is amazing. Yeah. So he's actually hunting with Mike this weekend, and I believe he might have killed a buck tonight. Really? Mike sent me some pictures, and I think that might have been him that was with the deer.
I'm so sick of successful deer hunters right now. I know. You know how much stand and field time I've put in? And...
I know. Well, anybody that really knows me knows that, I like to whitetail hunt, but I like busting beaks. I like turkey hunting. That's my thing.
You've drugged me into that too. So
yeah,
I know I enjoy my turkey seasons as well.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. I know very little about turkeys.
Yeah. Well, last year was your first year. It is extremely fun.
It is a lot of fun.
There's nothing to me that, and maybe it's because I've never heard it in person. I've never heard a deer grunt in the wild. I've never heard that. Yeah. But I've heard my fair share of turkey gobbles.
Right.
And it does not matter if that sucker is 50 yards or if he's 200 yards,
Still
every time you hear that gobble, it's like, here we go.
Mm-hmm. Game on.
So what we're going to do is we're going to give Mike a call here. And for those of you that are listening and just kind of trying to picture how we're set up right now, we are enjoying a couple bush lights. I think Justin's getting another one out of the fridge now. We just like to sit around and talk about hunting. All right, we're going to get Mike on the phone here.
All right, buddy, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're on here.
All right, man. We are on our first official podcast. We, Justin and I, just a minute ago, we're talking a little bit about you and your success and, kind of how you experienced some ups and downs so far this season to where, it kind of got frustrating for you a little bit. And then all of a sudden, I'm sitting and I get a text message from you at 11 o'clock. And then 11:15, you're calling me telling me you killed him. So
Yes, sir.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your season and kind of how, everything went down. And I know that you had that main shooter buck that you were after that just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, so actually, the deer that I was after, I didn't know about him until I picked up the sheds last year in like February, and I made up my mind as soon as I picked up the sheds that was a deer that I wanted, and I didn't get pictures of him until probably July, and I put a lot of time in on him once I found him, and unfortunately, I don't know if somebody had maybe seen him out in the field or whatever else, but it turned into I had people all over me, and that's something that we deal with around here. I mean, I'm sure that it's everywhere, but it got to the point that, I'll be honest, there was 5 people in one hauler, and obviously with these mature deer like that, you can't pressure them like that, or they're going to go totally nocturnal, and that's exactly what happened. So I actually ended up losing the deer off the farm that I had him on, and I kept following him. I got him back on camera, but the funny thing is I didn't get him back on camera until after I'd killed the deer that I just shot. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I had a different target buck prior to the year starting. But as season goes on, things change, and I had got another deer on camera that I liked, and I just came to realization that I was probably gonna have to make a move and go after a different deer, and I did that, and the deer I ended up killing, I didn't even know. So I mean, that's part of hunting.
Yeah, well, that one that you did kill, he's still a daggone good buck,
Yeah, I ended up getting him scored, and he scored 146 and 5/8, and for an 8-point, that's a stud. So I'm very happy with him, and if somebody else can let that deer walk by him, more power to him, but I can't.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like Justin and I was just talking about, that, I like deer hunting. I think I like it the most just because because I'm a camera guy and I get to enjoy the woods with other folks. And
right.
Basically, I mean, I like eating deer meat,
Mm-hmm.
So it's nothing for me just to go out and kill a doe, put meat in the freezer or whatever it might be. I mean, obviously a 140-inch buck comes in, I'm gonna kill him. But I was telling Justin that like my big thing is like busting beaks. Like I love turkey hunting.
Absolutely.
But
it's not much better.
No. But I do like talking to folks that are extremely knowledgeable when it comes to whitetail, especially when those folks are one of my staff guys. So talk to us. Okay, so this is a buck that you killed. You hadn't had any trail cam pictures of him. You hadn't seen him, or he just kind of showed up.
I had no knowledge of this deer, and I was actually in there. I had a couple other deer on camera that I liked, and they were deer that I'd probably have to make the decision when I seen them if I was going to shoot them. And I'd been in the stand 15 minutes, and I just happened to be paying attention. I think we're all guilty of messing around on our phone, and I look to my left, and I see a good deer coming out of the bedding area, and I ended up shooting this deer at 14 yards. And at first, when I called you, I thought it was a deer that I had on camera, and it wasn't until I got up to him and realized that I didn't know that deer. I'd never seen that deer before. I never had a picture of him. And I had to make some phone calls. Whenever the deer went out around the bank, I seen that he was heading toward a couple properties that I didn't have permission to hunt. So I contacted both of those farmers from those properties and got permission to go retrieve my deer. And of course, they had both mentioned, that they were hunters, or they had people hunting, family members that were hunting their property. So I ended up sharing the pictures with them, and that was a deer that I think everybody on the ridge was familiar with, but me, kind of thing. I guess his name on the ridge was Big Daddy, and I never got to see him before. I never got to name him or anything, but there was a lot of people familiar with him, and I just happened to be in the right place at the right time that morning.
Now, one of the things that, obviously the video that, because we were both sponsored by a scent company, and that's kind of how we met.
Right. And
then you had posted a video on there, which is actually the video that made me contact you about, baiting, using corn and stuff like that, and folks, not getting their bucks on trail camera, their shooter bucks on trail camera over at corn until night.
Correct.
So is that kind of, talk to me a little bit about that and how, you think that the deer, I mean, obviously the deer know that a big pile of corn in the middle of the woods is not normal. Right?
It's not good. It's not normal. I don't want to say it's not good. But the older these deer get, they realize that it's not normal. And the thing is, being from Ohio is a baiting state, so everybody baits. That's the gist of it. And it's not the fact that everybody baits to kill a big deer. A lot of people bait to keep deer on their properties or on their leases because their neighbors are baiting. The neighbors are baiting. So it's one of those things that you bait for inventory to figure out what's on your farms. But you're also baiting, in a sense, to keep deer on your farm and keep them off the neighbor kind of thing. And there's nothing against it. I do it. I know a lot of good hunters that do it. I know a lot of good hunters that are against it. But you can use it to your advantage. It's not saying that you have to hunt over it. A lot of times I hunt scrapes, and I'll use my bait sites to keep deer on my farms or on my properties, and to keep inventory and know where my deer are. But I think the big difference is now is you have a deer on camera that's, say, 4 years old and 5 years old, and these deer grow up on bait sites now to where they didn't do that 20 years ago. And it's something to where I actually was just talking. I have my buddy Bo here with me, Bartlebaugh, and we were actually just sitting down and we were talking deer, and it's a thing that deer are used to it now. Their mamas bring them in on it whenever they're fawns, and they grow up on bait sites. And I'm not saying that you can't kill a good deer off corn or any type of bait, whatever you use, because you can. But all it takes is one bad experience, and that doesn't have to be – that can be anything from a deer coming into a bait site and getting shot and not getting killed. There can be a deer coming into a bait site and picking you out of the tree and realizing, that's not right. It can be a deer coming into a bait site and he's in there before you are, and he catches you coming in, and all it takes is one bad occurrence, and then that's when those deer get smart on bait. So I'm not saying that you can't go kill a good deer on bait, but that's something where you can use it to your advantage. A deer that I was hunting this year, I had cameras on bait, and I wasn't getting him on bait for 2 months straight, but I was getting him on a mock scrape 100 yards over the hill. And I was getting him daylight on that mock scrape 100 yards over the hill. And he was not walking 100 yards up over the hill to eat off a bait site. And that, in my opinion, just boils down to that deer had a bad experience on a corn pile. And like I said, it could have been anything. That deer could have got shot on a corn pile. That deer could have got spooked on a corn pile. But I use them for several different reasons. And, one of them is inventory. But that just goes to show you that you might not get a deer on a bait site, but if you want to get a deer on camera or a good deer do deer stuff, and you can stick a camera on a scrape 100 yards over the hill, and you can get that deer, you can kill that deer. So, like I said, nothing against baiting. I do it. Some people believe in it and some don't, but you can use it to your advantage. If you get a deer that is hitting the bait site, and say that deer's coming in right at dark, and if you do your homework and you find out where that deer's sleeping, and the fact he's coming to your bait site 10 minutes after dark, you put the time in, and you can put a stand right in between them and intercept them. That's no different than, hunting between two bedding areas.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the hunter doing their homework.
I want to go back to when you talked about, you bait, just to keep deer on the property and keep inventory. And it reminds me of, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm a big fan of Working Class Bow Hunter, and I listen to a lot of Deer Society podcasts. And Deer Society had Ben Rising on. And that was a big thing that Ben had talked about, was that, he's got his neighboring properties that they hunt right on his line because they know that he's going to have deer there. They think that he's going to have deer there. But that's what he said. Like, he said that, he baits to keep deer on his property. He said he doesn't like it, but in order to keep deer on his property, he has to bait anymore. Yeah,
that's 100% the truth. And it's funny you brought that up. I actually sort of got, I think whenever we all get after a deer that we really want to kill and we're not seeing them, we sort of get in the dumps. And I had actually messaged him the other night on Instagram, and he actually had told me that something he's dealt with for the last 20 years is more or less, everybody knows Ben Rising's in my opinion, you say Ben Rising, you think that's a guy that he kills big deer and he knows what he's doing. And he told me that he's dealt with it for 20 years. His truck's pulled off the side of the road and somebody sees his truck, and next thing you know, everybody's hunting on the neighbor kind of thing. So absolutely, 110%.
Yeah, and to those that listen to this and not sure who Ben Rising is, I highly suggest checking out Whitetail Edge. He is one of those guys that's extremely knowledgeable when it comes to whitetail. And he's just, when you get him, like for example, on that Deer Society podcast, when he starts talking, it's like you zone everything out and you're listening. Because not a lot of people really understand half that stuff. A lot of people think that, you go into the woods, you spray some doe urine somewhere, and all the bucks are going to come running. A lot of people don't understand the amount of work that, folks like you, Mike, and Ben, and Justin, Tyler, and a lot of the work that we've put in this year. So it's really nice to kind of get that refresher and talk to those guys and listen to those guys and, people that have had experience and stuff like that. And I know that Bo's there with you, and I'm stoked to talk to Bo just because I just like busting turkey heads and is Bo there? Like, can he hear me?
He's sitting right here beside me. I just told him before you called.
How are you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing?
Good. So you're 8 years old, right?
I'm 11.
He's 11 now.
11.
Yeah.
I thought that maybe the video that I'd watched was.
I told him earlier before you guys called. I Googled his name and I said, "Bo, there's like 10 pages of stuff on Google about you."
No, I actually got on. I was on my way to Justin's, and like, you never want to go into talking to somebody and not have some kind of background. And obviously, I already screwed that up because I thought he was 8. He's actually 11. But I did look him up on and watch some YouTube videos. And I'm going to tell you what, I've been calling turkeys for years, and there is absolutely no way that I could beat that at all.
Jake will never touch that skill set
like
as high as you already have.
It honestly upsets me because I started listening to it and I'm like, this kid's amazing. Obviously when you're a grand national champion and you win state titles, obviously you're going to be amazing. But what I'm assuming that your dad turkey hunts too, right?
Yeah.
So is that kind of what got you into calling turkeys? You just pick up a turkey call one day and just think, wow, I just kind of want to be a grand champion.
Yeah. Well, actually, when I was younger, my dad went to a Pennsylvania State turkey calling contest, and he asked me, would you like to call in it? And I said yeah, and Dad had one of Matt Van Syce's box calls, and he had bought one off of Matt, and I called in the contest, and I won first in the poult division, and Matt was there, and he said that was phenomenal, and ever since then it started there.
So they just kind of started the addiction that you're never going to get rid of. So what's your favorite call to use? I mean, are you more of a diaphragm guy? Or are you more of a pot call? What do you like to use the best?
My favorite call is a box call.
Box call?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. So you're from Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
So I've always wondered, because I've never been able to hunt turkeys out of state. You know, I've always wondered how the hunting is from Ohio to other states. I mean, are you guys like covered in birds in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, there's in our area. Yeah, there's a good bit of birds.
That's cool. I never thought. Well, because I talked to Mike earlier, and I'm like, dude, I think we're gonna do a podcast tonight, and I want to call you, and I want to talk to you about your buck, and I want to talk to you about the whitetail. And he's like, well, Bo's here, and I thought, well, that'd be freaking cool to bring him on and talk to him a little bit. So, how did you guys meet? How did you guys meet Mike?
I actually I met Bo and his dad through a mutual friend. They were wanting to come to Ohio and do some turkey hunting, and just so happened he got a hold of me and was like, "Hey, would you be interested in having these guys come down and turkey hunt with you?" And I think we're all the same in the fact that when it comes to our turkeys or our deer, we're selective on who we let shoot them, kind of thing. And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" I did some looking just like you did. I did some looking before I said, yeah, come on down. And I watched Bo. I watched him call on YouTube and did some background checks on him just to seeing that him and his dad were legit. You know, obviously they were calling for Matt Van Syce at the time, and anybody that knows turkey calling, they know who Matt Van Syce is. So I said, yeah, come on down. And they did. It's, about a 3-hour drive, about 3 hours?
Yeah.
And they came over, and I think this was their third year doing it. And I tell you what, we have just been absolutely knocking the snot out of the turkeys. And 11 years old, he's a heck of a lot better turkey hunter than I was at 11 years old, I'll tell you that.
Well, it's crazy because I like to take a lot of youth hunting. You know, I like to I've killed my fair share of turkeys, and it's just cool for me for kids to experience their first turkey gobble, or their first strutter and stuff like that. And then now I'm talking to Bo, and I'm like, so when's this kid gonna teach me something?
That's right.
It's cool. But
I mean, if you have a natural born talent, though, I mean, it is what it is. You use it, be successful with it, and teach others.
And I thought I knew how to run a box call, and I've seen adults that I thought ran a box call pretty good. And then I meet this kid 3 years ago when he's 8, 9 years old, and he's sitting in my living room running a box call, and I'm thinking I've been doing it wrong the whole time.
Let me show you. No.
When it comes to like these championships and what's the process that you have to go through? I mean, obviously is there like small competitions that you have to win, and then you just kind of keep working your way there, or is there like a handful of them and then you just you compete at the end? How does all that work?
In the adult divisions, you have to qualify for Grand Nationals, but like the under divisions, I don't have to qualify to get to Grand Nationals.
So you can just enter and then go in there and compete against a bunch of kids your age. How many kids are usually in that division that you're competing in?
Last year there was 15 to 16 kids.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Now, Michael sent me a picture of a buck tonight. Who killed that deer?
I did.
So you killed that deer tonight?
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
now he outcalls us and he outkills deer.
We're not inviting this kid back on the thing ever again.
Yes, we are. So what is like when you're preparing, you know, obviously I'm sure you practice a lot. But what do you kind of do to prepare for the events? I mean, are you calling nonstop to make sure that everything's right, or are you just kind of going with the flow and using your talent when you get there?
Well, like at Grand Nationals, we don't know like the calls to the night before the contest, so I practice a variety of calls, like almost all the calls, and then when we get our calls, then I'm confident and I know that my calls are going to perform.
So when it comes to the calls and learning the calls and just the practicing, did your dad help you a lot with, you know, knowing the calls and practicing, or did you just kind of go off of what you've heard and seen and different things like that? Like how did you become so good at it? I mean, obviously a lot of practice, but did you have any help from your dad, or did you just go off of, you know, obviously hunting and stuff like that?
You know, like I have 4 turkeys of my own, and I go up there and I listen to them a good bit, and Matt is my instructor, and I learned off of him.
Wait, so you have like your own turkeys?
Yeah, I have my own turkeys.
Well, I guess you get pretty good at talking back and forth between your turkeys. That's pretty cool. We actually had no clue exactly what we was going to say. All we knew was we were going to be talking hunting and drinking Busch Light. That's all we knew.
And still plenty of Busch Light today, so we can keep going.
No, so that's cool. I mean, I don't get to talk to. Actually, Bo is the only kid that I've talked to that is so advanced and does what he does with turkey call. It's cool for a kid to have that much knowledge and be that good at it.
Thank you.
That's drive and passion as we use.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
So what do you plan on going with this, Bo? Do you plan on, you know, keep going, and then once you become, you know, older, then you get into more of the adult vision and do that kind of stuff, or what?
Yeah, I plan on keep on going and try to get more advanced, and I'm like I move up in division like as I get older. So
are you like the king of your school?
well, actually there's not many kids in my school that hunt.
Really?
So, yeah. And I try to talk to other kids to like try to get them into hunting, and they like talk about hunting, like, and it's pretty cool to talk to other kids and try to help them with hunting, like.
Yeah, but I would have to imagine you're pretty advanced. I mean, you start talking about hunting and they're like, yeah, I have no clue what this kid's talking about.
Yeah.
Is it get kind of? I mean, I'm sure you get a lot of questions and stuff like that, but I mean, your everyday life. I mean, is it do you see people and they talk to you about it, or kids at school? I mean, is it turkeys all the time, or?
No, they talk to me about deer hunting and like hunting in general, you know.
So what all kind of hunting do you do besides deer and turkey?
I have a pheasant dog. I go pheasant hunting, and I have 2 beagles, and we're going to go rabbit hunting this year.
Well, fellas, I'm sure we'll do this again. Like I said, this is our first podcast, so we're really not sure what we're doing here. We're just kind of going with the flow, like a bunch of rednecks. I mean, we're talking about hunting and we're drinking beer, so I'm not sure. Yeah, and we're out in the garage and our wives are inside, so it's pretty quiet.
Yeah.
It is like a little vacation.
Staycation.
Justin even brought out a bucket full of candy.
Yeah, I brought the kids trick or treat candy.
So
Kids don't need candy. I'll take care of it for them.
So this is how we're rolling right now. We're talking about hunting. We're drinking beer. Wives are inside. We're on vacation eating his kids' Halloween candy.
Right on.
But
They're full of beer, less than 5 years.
yeah. Well, is there anything you guys want to talk about while I feel like I'm asking a bunch of questions. And
We're glad you brought us on, and the first episode is one of many.
Yes, sir. All right, fellas.
We appreciate it, and maybe we'll be back on again.
That'll work.
You guys take care, and we appreciate it.
No problem. I'll bring some of this stuff down when I come down to Turkey Hunt this spring, and we'll all just sit around, drink some beer, and we'll talk about hunting.
Right on.
All right, brother.
All right, you guys take care.
Thanks for talking to me, Bo.
You're welcome.
All right.
All right, guys. Take care.
Man, that's cool. I mean, how could you imagine being
honestly
11 years old and
okay, I didn't think you were going there with that.
I told you, man, I'm all about busting beats.
I want to get this off my chest. I did not foresee us as Camouflage Addiction having our own freaking podcast. Like, this is so fun.
It is
really
great.
Is.
It is fun. And it's like, so
whoever listens to this and stuff, I mean, you'll have to excuse us because we are nowhere near experienced at this whatsoever.
No. So like I brought up, like,
this is just a thing that we're getting our feel right now,
yeah.
and getting a roll for it. I mean, it might come down to it to where maybe we do need like a little piece of paper or something of subjects that we want to talk about and questions we want to ask. But
I don't know if I want to do that though. Like I just feel like I just kind of want to roll with it. I mean, obviously, if this is probably never going to happen, but a guy can dream. Like if we were to bring on like Michael Waddell or someone like Bone Collector and those guys, then
what would you do with Michael Waddell if I called him up and he just walked through that door right now to join us?
First off, if you got Michael Waddell's phone number
and I'm holding it from you,
I will probably, I don't know what I would do. Second off, if Michael Waddell walked in that door right there, I'd probably lose my freaking mind. Like I have so many questions for that guy. Like he is just, I mean, he's
like, you're going hunting with us in the morning, right?
And I'm like, yes. My wife is supposed to hunt in the morning, but she can wait.
Shit, that's on hold. Sorry, honey.
No, but like I was going to say, so like obviously this is our first one and I see us having a lot of episodes, but there's Working Class Bow Hunter and those guys, if you're listening to this and you've not listened to Working Class Bow Hunter, I highly recommend checking those guys out because they are a fun group of guys to listen to. But we're not, I mean, obviously this is our first one and we're not, trying to like be us compared to Working Class Bow Hunter is like comparing someone who has never hunted a day in their life to Michael Waddell.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. I mean, we're literally just drinking beer, talking about hunting. And that's what the way I want it to be. Like, it's fun that way, and I think it's going to be, I mean, obviously we'll bring some people on, we'll talk to different people, as we go, but obviously we'll do like some of our partners giveaway. Like I want to do like, giveaways like a Scent Lock or, Buck Fever Seed Company, Predator Hunter Outdoors, Coyote Core, stuff like that. I don't want to do giveaways and I want to talk about our partners and really show our appreciation for them because, I mean, we really wouldn't be able to do what we do without our partners. But yeah, this is kind of cool for me. We've obviously been talking about doing this podcast for a while, and we've just never done it. And tonight was not really expected to do it. I got home from hunting and my wife wasn't at home. So I found out that she was at your house. And so she's like, "Were you coming down?" And I'm like, "No, I'm thinking I'm just going to relax my recliner. I'm pretty tired. Just relax the rest of the evening." And then I thought, you know what? Podcast. Like,
we talked about it all week.
Yeah. Like, let's go talk about hunting. I'm excited, man. Like, this is going to be cool. Like, I feel like this is going to be, I kind of want to get back to what Camouflage Addiction originally was. So when I started Camouflage Addiction, 2016, 2015, something like that, all it was it was a Facebook page, a platform for local hunters to share their success. So basically, some dude in Troy, and those of you who don't know Troy, Ohio, that's over by us. If some dude in Troy, doesn't have a lot of, let's say he doesn't have a lot of friends or he doesn't get out much or whatever, but he kills this massive deer or any deer for that matter, and he wants to share his story on it, you know, like his kid killed his first deer or whatever it might be. That's what Camouflage Addiction was. You know, we shared that kind of stuff and we interacted with local people. And then shortly after that, probably a year after that, is when I decided that I wanted to take it further. I wanted to do more with Camouflage Addiction. So brought some guys on. Here we are. But part of me sometimes wants to go back to being what we originally were. Like there's groups like Last Flight Calls. You know, Matt Hicks, Zach Riffle, those guys are phenomenal dudes. And their calls are second to none. And so I definitely want to bring those guys on and talk to them, and then they can talk about Last Flight. And then there, you know, there's different, like, and Philip, Lockjaw Lure, you know, bring,
We all fish.
yeah, and bring those guys on and talk to them. I mean, these are all local guys that I want to bring on and to just, you know, talk to these guys and help them. You know, not that Last Flight or Lockjaw needs any help. I mean, they're freaking booming right now. So, I mean, there was a day that I went over there to talk to Philip. He was making fishing baits, and like they didn't have anything. Like it was just in a smaller garage than what we're in right now. Right. And they had like this homemade bench that they had made, and they were melting, you know, their worms or whatever, and stuff like that. And then so I sat in there and talked to him for a while, watched how we did some of it, and I kind of wondered, you know, what they were going to do moving forward. Like, I mean, obviously they're not just going to continue to sell out of that little deal, you know, because they were growing so fast.
How to make a good bait.
Right. So, yeah, him and Justin both, like,
yeah,
they're both like, I mean, they're killing it in tournaments too, you know.
Yeah.
But going back to, you know, when I first walked in there, you know, Justin wasn't in there. It was just Philip, you know, and I didn't know Justin at the time. But I went in there and hung out with him for a while. Well, then I had come back months later. And I think we were taking Bryson in to see him, or they wanted to see baits or whatever. And I walked in, and they've got like this whole storefront in there now.
It's just a whole nother thing.
I mean, it's nuts how much stuff they've got in there. And that's just like Matt and Matt and Zach with Last Flight. You know, I went over there because Matt's actually my insurance agent for my house insurance. So, and I went over there because I got a hat, shirt, stuff like that. And I went over there and talked to him. And at the time he was doing everything, you know, by hand on a lathe and stuff like that. And it was just, I mean, he didn't have very much, but I mean, he was selling the crap out of waterfowl calls. And then now he's just blown up. And it's crazy to think that some of the people that you knew when they weren't as big are doing what they're doing now. It's like,
it's cool. I
was just coyote hunting with Philip, 2.5 years ago, and he wasn't even in the bait making business. Yeah. I mean, he was fishing for, what was that shop he was fishing for?
The Tackle Shack?
Yeah. No, it wasn't a Tackle Shack. It was something, I don't know. We'll have to bring him on and talk to him about it. And that's story. But he wasn't even doing baits. And then one day he's like, I think I'm going to start making fishing baits. And then next thing you know,
he's making money hand over fishing baits.
Yeah. So, and he's fishing all the time, you know, and Last Flight guys, they're freaking, they're hunting all the time. But it's just crazy. And that's the kind of thing that I wanted to go back to. Like, I want to talk to those guys and just see their story and be able to broadcast that to all of our listeners. When I started Camouflage Addiction, I mean, I've had such a passion for it. Like it's, you know, it's what I've done since 2016. And up until, you know, I brought you on, and Tyler's been with me for freaking ever, you know. But I brought Tyler on, and then you, and then now we've got Michael and Justin Kilburn and Josh, you know, and it's just everything's clicking right now. You know, I can't forget about Zayner. I almost did, but he's my little brother, so I could do that. But I wanted to be real picky on who I brought, because, you know, in the past I've had guys that I've had really good guys in the past. I really have. It just didn't work out. I've also had guys in the past that, just kind of wanted to ride the name, and that's,
Reap the benefits
yeah,
without putting in the work.
exactly. Yeah. And I mean, we're getting as much film as we can, when we can, whether it be, just filming a doe or filming that coyote you shot, and stuff like that. And I just want everybody to hear this because this is kind of what we're about.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for now. We are just about an hour into this podcast, and that's crazy because our first podcast, I didn't really expect to be that long, but here we are an hour later, and we can still go on and on and on, but we'll save that for another episode. So you guys can find our podcasts on YouTube. They will also be on our Facebook page. If you just go to our Facebook page, give us a like, you'll get notified when we post something new, whether it be hunting videos or photos or these podcasts. And like Justin said, we're also on YouTube. You can go to YouTube, you can check out our videos. We got a lot of big things in store. We've got a good crew. We've got a lot of things coming for us. So
the rut's kicking in. So
yeah. And then here I am, just waiting on spring, waiting to bust turkey beaks. Because right now I'm just the dumb camera guy that carries all this equipment into the woods and then carries it all back out.
It
And
makes all kinds of noise.
yeah, apparently I make a bunch of noise, but it's not all the time.
Mr. Snacky over there.
I do like my snacks. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
See you.